My fiancée's sister tried to sabotage our wedding, but her own secrets blew up in her face. I, 32, male, am still reeling from what happened 2 weeks ago, and honestly, I don't even know where to begin. My fiancée, Sarah, 30, female, and I have been together for 5 wonderful years, and we were just 2 weeks away from our dream wedding. Everything was meticulously planned, from the rustic barn venue to the custom-made wedding favors. We were so excited, anticipating the biggest day of our lives, completely oblivious to the storm brewing beneath the surface, spearheaded by Sarah's older sister, Amelia, 35, female. Amelia has always been a lot. Since I first met her, she's had this air of superiority, constantly making passive-aggressive comments about Sarah's choices, her career, her appearance, you name it. Sarah, being the incredibly kind and patient person she is, always brushed it off, attributing it to Amelia's tough love or her stress. I, however, saw it for what it was: thinly veiled jealousy and a deep-seated need to control. Amelia had a habit of always needing to be the center of attention, and if she wasn't, she would subtly, or not so subtly, undermine anyone who was. She's single, never been married, and has a rather lackluster career despite her endless bragging, which I think fuels a lot of her resentment towards Sarah, who is incredibly successful and genuinely happy. The wedding planning process only exacerbated Amelia's behavior. She inserted herself into every decision, offering unsolicited opinions and critiques. If Sarah chose something, Amelia would immediately suggest an alternative, always implying hers was superior. For instance, when Sarah picked out her wedding dress, a beautiful, elegant A-line gown, Amelia scoffed, saying it was too plain and didn't really show off Sarah's figure. Sarah, bless her heart, just smiled and said she loved it. I had to bite my tongue more times than I could count. I tried to talk to Sarah about it, but she always defended Amelia, saying, "That's just how she is, darling. Don't worry about it." A major point of contention was the maid of honor situation. Sarah had asked her childhood best friend, Chloe, to be her maid of honor, which was a completely natural and obvious choice. Chloe and Sarah have been inseparable since kindergarten, share everything, and Chloe has always been a supportive and loving presence in Sarah's life. Amelia, however, clearly expected to be the maid of honor. When Sarah told her about Chloe, Amelia threw a fit, accusing Sarah of betraying her and prioritizing outsiders over family. The argument was brutal, with Amelia shouting about how she was Sarah's sister and therefore deserved the role. Sarah stood her ground, calmly explaining that while she loved Amelia, Chloe was a maid of honor. This created a rift, and Amelia became even more withdrawn and hostile, attending bridal party events with a scowl and making snide remarks under her breath. 2 weeks before the wedding, things really started to escalate. Sarah and I had decided to have a small, intimate rehearsal dinner with just our immediate families and the bridal party. Amelia, however, decided that she needed to invite a +1, her on-again, off-again boyfriend, Mark. Mark is, to put it mildly, a creep. He's known for being a womanizer, has a history of cheating, and is generally disliked by everyone in our social circle, including Sarah's parents, who openly expressed their disapproval of Amelia seeing him. We had made it clear that the rehearsal dinner was for immediate family and the bridal party only, no exceptions. When Amelia insisted on bringing Mark, Sarah politely but firmly told her no. Amelia blew up, screaming that we were trying to control her life and dictate who she could bring to family events. She threatened to boycott the wedding if Mark wasn't allowed. Sarah, tired of the drama, told her that was her choice, but the decision stood. Amelia eventually backed down, but not before making a scene that left Sarah in tears. A few days later, a strange email arrived in my inbox. It was from an anonymous sender, titled "Truth About Your Future Wife." My heart sank as I opened it. The email contained a series of doctored photos and fabricated messages, all designed to make it look like Sarah was cheating on me with a coworker. The photos were clearly manipulated, bad Photoshop jobs, really, and the messages were riddled with grammatical errors and inconsistencies that screamed fake. I knew instantly it was a setup. Sarah would never do something like that, and the evidence was laughably amateurish. However, the intent was clear. Someone wanted to plant doubt in my mind, to destroy our relationship, and my first thought was Amelia. Her animosity had been building, and this felt exactly like something she would do. I confronted Sarah with the email, and her face went pale as she read it. She was devastated, not by the accusations themselves, but by the fact that someone would go to such lengths to hurt us. We immediately started trying to figure out who was behind it. We considered a few disgruntled exes, but none of them seemed capable of such a targeted and malicious attack. The more we thought about it, the more Amelia's name kept coming up. Her behavior, her jealousy, her need for drama, it all pointed to her. We decided to do some digging, discreetly, of course. Sarah had a tech-savvy cousin, David, who works in cybersecurity. We showed him the email and the attached files, explaining the situation and our suspicions about Amelia. David, being the brilliant sleuth he is, managed to trace the IP address of the sender. It led directly to Amelia's home computer. We had our proof. My stomach dropped. I knew Amelia was difficult, but I never thought she would go so far as to actively try and ruin her own sister's wedding. Sarah was heartbroken. Her tough love sister was actually trying to sabotage her happiness. It was a painful realization. We decided to confront Amelia, but not before we had a plan. We didn't want a public confrontation, especially so close to the wedding. We wanted to handle it with some degree of grace, if possible, for the sake of Sarah's parents, who were already stressed enough with wedding preparations. We invited Amelia over to our apartment for what she thought was a final wedding planning chat. She arrived with her usual condescending smirk, already launching into a critique of Sarah's choice of flowers. We let her talk for a bit, then I calmly said, "Amelia, we need to talk about something serious." Her smirk faltered. Sarah then placed a printout of the email and the IP address trace on the table. Amelia's face went through a spectrum of emotions: shock, denial, anger, and finally, a flicker of fear. She immediately started to deny it, rambling about how someone must have hacked her computer, how it was a setup to frame her. But her voice cracked, and her eyes darted nervously. Sarah, her voice trembling but firm, looked at her sister and said, "Amelia, why? Why would you do this to me? To us?" The dam broke. Amelia, cornered and exposed, finally confessed. She admitted to sending the email, to fabricating the evidence. Her reasons, when they finally tumbled out, were a chaotic mix of jealousy, resentment, and a bizarre sense of entitlement. She ranted about how Sarah always got everything she wanted, how she was the golden child, how I was too good for Sarah, and how Sarah didn't deserve me or her successful career. She even admitted to being angry about not being maid of honor and feeling overshadowed by Sarah. It was a torrent of bitter accusations and self-pity, completely devoid of any real remorse. She seemed to genuinely believe she was justified in her actions. Sarah, who had been listening silently, finally cut her off. Her voice was icy cold, a tone I had rarely heard from her. "Amelia," she said, "I always tried to be there for you. I always defended you, even when you were hurtful. But this is a new low. You tried to destroy my relationship, my happiness. How could you?" Amelia tried to backtrack, to apologize, but it felt hollow, forced. She was only sorry she got caught. We told her that she was no longer welcome at our wedding. Not as a guest, not as a sister. She was disinvited. Her jaw dropped. She pleaded, she cried, she even tried to bargain, promising she would never do anything like it again. But the trust was shattered. Sarah simply shook her head and said, "I need time, Amelia. A lot of time. And honestly, I don't know if I can ever forgive you for this." Amelia left in a huff, threatening to tell our parents and ruin everything. We knew she would. So, Sarah and I went to her parents that evening. We laid out all the evidence, the doctored email, the IP address trace, and Amelia's confession. Sarah's parents were utterly devastated. They knew Amelia was difficult, but they never imagined she would stoop to such depths. Her mother broke down in tears, expressing her shame and disappointment. Her father, a calm and collected man, was furious. He immediately called Amelia, and I could hear his booming voice from the other room, chewing her out. He told her behavior was unacceptable and that she needed to take responsibility for her actions. He supported our decision to disinvite her from the wedding, saying he understood why we needed to protect our special day. The next 2 weeks were a whirlwind of emotional fallout. Amelia tried to rally other family members against us, spreading lies and painting herself as the victim. But we had our proof, and the truth eventually came out. Some family members were shocked and sided with us, while others, unfortunately, believed Amelia's victim narrative or tried to mediate, urging us to forgive and forget for the sake of family unity. We politely but firmly declined. Despite the drama, Sarah and I grew even closer. This ordeal, while incredibly painful, solidified our bond and showed us that we could overcome anything together. We spent the days leading up to the wedding focusing on each other, on our love, and on the beautiful future we were building. We tried our best to block out Amelia's attempts to sabotage things further, which included a few nasty texts and a veiled threat to crash the wedding. We even had a discreet chat with the venue security, just in case. The wedding day arrived, and it was absolutely magical. The weather was perfect, the venue looked stunning, and surrounded by our closest friends and family who truly cared about us, we exchanged our vows. Amelia was, predictably, absent. Her absence, rather than casting a shadow, felt like a breath of fresh air. It allowed us to truly celebrate without the constant underlying tension and passive-aggressive remarks. Sarah's parents were there, looking heartbroken but supportive. They apologized profusely for Amelia's actions, and we assured them it wasn't their fault. However, the drama wasn't entirely over. During the reception, as we were enjoying our first dance, a rather chaotic scene unfolded near the entrance. I caught a glimpse of it from the corner of my eye, but focused on Sarah. Later, Chloe, our maid of honor, recounted what happened. Amelia, despite being disinvited, had shown up to the venue, clearly intoxicated, demanding to be let in. She was loudly proclaiming that she was the rightful maid of honor and that Sarah stole her life. Security quickly intervened, but not before Amelia managed to cause a significant commotion. And here's where the universe decided to deliver a dose of poetic justice. As security was escorting Amelia out, she became belligerent and started yelling obscenities. It turns out, Mark, her on-again, off-again boyfriend, had decided to make an appearance as well, possibly trying to rescue her or just cause more trouble. But he wasn't alone. A woman, whom Chloe later identified as Mark's wife, also showed up. Yes, you read that right. Mark was married, and Amelia had been having an affair with him. The wife, seeing Mark and Amelia together and witnessing Amelia's drunken outburst, completely lost it. She confronted Mark, accusing him of cheating, right there in front of everyone, including Sarah's stunned parents who had just stepped outside to see what the commotion was. A massive shouting match ensued, with Amelia, Mark, and his wife all screaming at each other. The wife, furious, then turned her wrath on Amelia, revealing that she had known about Amelia and Mark for a while and had been gathering evidence for a divorce. In her anger, the wife accidentally, or perhaps intentionally, who knows, revealed a crucial piece of information. Amelia had been confiding in her about her plans to sabotage Sarah's wedding. The wife explained that Amelia had been bragging about how she was going to ruin Sarah's perfect life, and had even shown her some of the doctored images she planned to send. The wife, having seen what Amelia was capable of, and now realizing the extent of Mark's betrayal, decided to expose everything. The scene was a complete spectacle. Amelia was exposed not only as a saboteur but also as the other woman, her affair with a married man brought to light in the most public and humiliating way possible. Sarah's parents, who had just been dealing with their disappointment in Amelia, were now utterly mortified. Amelia was not only escorted out by security, but Mark's wife also called the police, alleging harassment and emotional distress caused by Amelia, and stating her intent to file a restraining order. The whole situation was a dramatic, public implosion of Amelia's own making. The news spread like wildfire among the guests. While it was shocking, it also served as a vindication for Sarah and me. People who had been on the fence or believed Amelia's narrative suddenly saw the truth. It was a chaotic end to what was otherwise a beautiful day, but it also felt like a huge weight had been lifted. In the days since the wedding, the fallout has been immense. Mark's wife has filed for divorce and is pursuing a restraining order against Amelia. Amelia's reputation in our social circle is completely ruined. Her few friends have distanced themselves, and her professional life is also taking a hit as the story, unfortunately, has started to spread beyond just family and friends. Sarah's parents are still reeling. They've told Amelia that they are deeply disappointed in her and are taking a step back from their relationship for a while, urging her to seek therapy and reflect on her actions. They apologized to us again, profusely, for the embarrassment and pain Amelia caused. We assured them that while it was a difficult situation, it only strengthened our resolve and love for each other. Sarah and I are now on our honeymoon, trying to decompress and process everything. It's hard to completely shake off the drama, but we are focusing on each other and our future. We are still navigating the complexities of dealing with family members who are caught in the middle, but we've learned a valuable lesson about setting boundaries and protecting our peace. Our wedding day was a whirlwind of emotions, but ultimately, it was a testament to our love and resilience. And in the end, Amelia's attempt to destroy our happiness only led to her own spectacular downfall. It's a bitter pill to swallow, knowing her own sister would go to such lengths, but also a stark reminder that karma has a way of catching up. We are just glad to be starting our married life with this chapter closed, hopefully for good.